Hello everyone, welcome to the training of the CP4 high pressure pumps. During the training, we'll do the whole disassembly of the pump, explain about the parts of this pump, and
Hello
also
everyone,
do the whole
welcome
assembly
to the training
on the
of the CP4
high pressure
pumps.
pump. In
During
order
the
to
training,
do this training,
we'll do the whole
we're going to need
disassembly of the
this
pump,
vise explained
that is going to
about
help
the
us
parts
to fix
of
the
this
pump here.
and
Hello
also
everyone,
the
the biggest
whole
problems
assembly
when doing
on
repairing
the
pumps
CP4
is
high
you don't
pressure
have a good
pump.
fixture.
In
And
order
you
to
end up
damaging the pump, we're going to need
normal
this
vise.
vise,
So I highly
explain
recommend
that
going to help us to fix the
bracket
pump
here,
like
and
hello
also
everyone,
the
because
whole
this is a
assembly
brand new training
on
repairing
the
pumps.
CP4
So
high
the first
pressure
step we're going to do,
in order to training, we're gonna need
normal
this
vise.
vise.
So I highly recommend it's going to help us to use
bracket
here.
like
Hello, this is a brand new training
on
repairing
the
pumps.
CP4
So the first step we're going to do,
in order to
training,
training,
we're gonna
need
normal
so
vise.
if
So
vise,
I highly recommend it's going to help us to use
bracket
here.
like
Hello, this is a brand new
training
repairing pumps. So the first step we're going to do,
in order to
and
training,
then we're gonna need normal
if
vise.
vise,
So I highly recommend it's going to help us to use
bracket
here.
like
Hello, this is a brand new
training
repairing pumps. So the first step we're going to do,
in order to training,
and then we're gonna need normal vise. So I highly recommend it's going to help us to use
bracket here
like
like
hello, this is a brand new
training
repairing pumps. So the first step we're going to do, and then we're gonna need normal vise. So I highly recommend it's going to help us to use like hello, this is a brand new repairing pumps. So the first step we're going to do, and then we're gonna need normal vise. So I highly recommend it's going to help us to use like hello, this is a brand new repairing pumps. So the first step we're going to do, and then we're gonna need normal vise. So I highly recommend it's going to help us to use like hello, this is
putting your pump into the vise. You can remove this center ring here, and now I can have access to all the bolts that hold the pump in place. I'll just tighten this tree a little bit so the pump doesn't move. And now we can start the disassembly. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove this plastic cap here. Sometimes the plastic cap is a little bit stuck, so you just grab something a little bit sharp, place in the front here, and make a little bit of lever, and you can remove easily your plastic cover. So first thing I'm gonna disassemble is the suction valve. In order to do this, we're gonna need this 10mm Torx bit in here and some lever to adjust it. There we go. And we have our suction valve right here. Okay. Now we keep on taking the other parts. Now we have 4 screws, 4 Torx screws that will hold our head into the pump. Let's just remove those screws. Go 1, 2, 3, and the last one. Perfect. Now we had our head off. There's the 4 screws that hold this in place. Okay, now we have our plunger. So there's spring, plunger, and the plunger holder. So this disc will go like this. And that's the head itself. There's an O-ring on the bottom part. Let me just remove it. I can show you. There we go. This O-ring goes in the base here. And we also have a small O-ring on the pump itself. Following up on the disassembly, now we're going to remove our M-prop valve. So this is the valve that controls the volume of the pump. Some people also call this the VCV, or the volume control valve. Let me remove the second bolt. Go, one off, one more. There we go. So there's 2 Torx screws holding the M-prop valve. And now we have here our M-prop valve. Okay, now we have something else over here to disassemble. That's the Q valve that controls the internal pressure of the pump. So this is what this valve does. I'll use a 12 mil wrench. There we go. So that's the valve that controls internal pressure on the pump. There's nothing to adjust. If for some reason you're getting too much pressure or no pressure at all on your transfer pump, on your pump, that means this valve is bad and you should replace it for a new one. Normally, we recommend using the original Bosch part number. So if you run your pump on your bench and your transfer pressure is very low or very high, that means you're having trouble with this valve. Just replace it for a new one. Just to finish our disassembly, we have 4 screws on the bottom part here. I'll just remove those. One, 2, 3, 4. And the last one. Okay, so 4 screws removed. Now we can remove the pump from our bracket. So just remove those 3 screws. One, 2, 3. There you go. There's our pump. Now the last step is remove the front cover of the pump. In order to do this, ROBIEL developed a new tool. This tool right here doesn't have a part number yet because it's on final development by ROBIEL. It's gonna probably be ready in about 15 to 25 days, but I'll explain you how to use, and later on, when it's available, you can buy and use this tool. So it's a very simple tool to use. You grab those two parts and put under here, as you can see, okay, goes under here. And this part is gonna go in the center, okay, like this. So what I need to do first is I need to turn back this knob all the way down, put this disc in here, and that's the final assembly. As you see, it's holding up the bomb. Now, I just need to turn this lever like this. And it's perfect. You can take off the tool. Take this off. Take the shaft off. Okay, so shaft is off. The front part of the pump. We have one O-ring over here that needs to be replaced. And we have another O-ring over here that also needs to be replaced. Okay? And over here, we have our roller. Okay? So this is the roller that goes on top of the shaft. First thing we need to do on this pump, after we take all the parts off, is visually diagnostic the roller. So if you have a roller that is damaged, sometimes it's square or there's too much cracks on the part, you need to replace for a new one, okay? So if you see too much damage, normally you just replace for a new one. In this case, you see the roller is spinning good, no problem. So I can use this one on the pump. I don't need to replace this, okay? This part, ROBIEL doesn't manufacture yet. It's under development, so we need to wait some time to get this part from ROBIEL. So I'll put this in here. Also, we need to check our shaft. So the surface of the shaft right here needs to be perfectly flat. If you see too much damage or scratches, you also need to change this shaft. Sometimes your shaft only on the surface looks a little bit dirt. You can actually do some light sandpaper, 600 or 1200 grit, just to polish this part, and this is gonna make your pump to last longer. Be aware that sometimes you have also damage over here, where you have the retainer clipped in here. So if there's a groove too big on this part, you need to also replace your shaft. That's also a part number that ROBIEL doesn't have yet, but is under development in our engineering team. So as soon as we can, we'll launch this part number in the market. Okay, so moving on, we can start doing the assembly. Of course, normally you have to clean your pump on ultrasonic system and everything, but in here it's just a training, so I'll just assemble the way it is. So first thing, I'm gonna remove all the O-rings, the old O-rings, because we're gonna put new ones. Okay, all the O-rings removed. Let's remove also the O-ring from our end prop valve. There we go. All the O-rings removed. Now, let's start to do the assembly on the pump. first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grind the bottom part on the suction valve, because that's where you have the most leakage on this pump. So first step, I'm gonna grind this part. Let me grab my grinding tool. That's gonna be 324-17030. Let's put some cutting oil and screw the tool into our head. Now let's do the grinding step. Let's unscrew the tool. I'll give the body some cleaning. Okay, I can see improvement, but I need to do some more grinding. There's still some damage on the bottom part, so I need to clean everything. The surface needs to be perfect, so let's do some more cleaning. Little bit more. Now I think it's gonna be perfect. Okay, now looks perfect. So the bottom part is cleaned. Now the head is okay. On the head, the only two things you need to do is grind the bottom part, put a new suction valve, and on here you have the exit valve. So the only thing you need to do on the exit valve is apply pressure on this way and see if this pressure doesn't leak here. So once we apply pressure on this entry, we cannot see oil coming from here or here. Normally, we don't do this test because on the test bench, once you start running your bench, if this part is not sealing correctly, you have zero pressure on the test bench. So we know that this could be the problem, okay? But if you want to do in your workshop, just screw adapter here, put pressure, and it needs to seal 100%. No oil can come from here or here. It needs to be 100% sealed, okay? So let's move on to the assembly part. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put back our shaft on the pump like this, and we'll also put our roller in the pump. Just be aware that the roller needs to be in this position. It needs to run like this. If you do like this, if you change the direction, it's gonna damage your shaft. So you need to walk in this direction. So when you put the shaft in here, you look there, and you need to put your plunger on this direction, like here. If you do like this, that's a problem. So just aim and put in the perfect direction, like this. Okay, so that's the correct way to do it. Now, next step we're gonna do is we're gonna put our face back down here. So that's the part I'm talking about. And for this, we need to put new O-rings. So I have here 410, 10, 508. That's the ROBIEL's overhaul kit for this pump. Let me grab the correct O-ring. One is gonna go over here. The other one is a small one. It's gonna go over here. Okay, on the face of the pump. Let's apply a little bit of lubrication to the O-rings. Once you're assembling, take a note. This orifice right here should go on this O-ring right here. So once you put this, there's a correct position. As you can see on the front of the pump, there's one O-ring here and there's one hole in here. So you need to match those two together like this, okay? One thing also, as you can see here, there's a retainer. On the ROBIEL kit, it comes with a new retainer. I'm not gonna remove and apply back because it's gonna take too long on the video to do it. And it's very simple process. I think everyone in the workshop knows how to remove and apply a new retainer, okay? So just so you can see, there's a brand new retainer in the ROBIEL kit. I'm not gonna change this one because we're gonna lose too much time on the training, but you just remove and apply a new one, okay? Now, let's put the 4 screws on the front face of the pump. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, once we have our 4 screws in position, now we can put the pump back into the vise holder. So remember to put the centralizing O-ring. This is to make the pump to be centralized. Now I can put my pump into the holder. Just tight the screws in place. And we just remove the centralizing pin. Okay, now we need to press down these 4 screws over here. I do not recommend using a torque wrench in here because it's aluminum body. So if I tell you put here 1 kilogram or 1.5 kilogram, some pumps will hold, but some pumps will fail and destroy the aluminum because they are old. So the aluminum is very, very tricky. So if we put a fixed torque number, some pumps can hold, some pumps cannot hold the torque. So what we always recommend is keep going one by one, slowly. So slowly torque all the bolts one by one until you feel that is getting a little bit hard. Here, a little bit this one. Okay, now the 4 screws are tight. I'm gonna go one by one, do a little bit more. Just be careful not to give too much torque. Otherwise, it's aluminum and it's gonna break. So one by one, now I see it's getting a little bit harder. So just keep doing. There we go, that's the limit. I can feel if I go more, I will damage the pump. See, that's the limit right there. That's enough, okay? So now that my pump is in place, I can twist over here and put my head, okay? So on our head, over here, we have one O-ring that goes in this place. Let's put a little bit of oil. And we have another O-ring that's gonna go here in the body. Let's put another O-ring. A little bit of oil. And of course, they should match this hole with this hole, okay? Now, we'll put here our spring and the plunger. There we go. It's perfect. Put this over here. Now, if we twist our pump to a lower part like this, we can insert our screws back in place, and we can start screwing them into the pump. One here, over here, another one in here. Let's do it all the way down. Last two, 1 and 2. So in this case, it's the same thing. It's aluminum body, so do not use torque wrench. Some pumps you'll damage if you do this, because not all the pumps can handle the same torque. So we'll just feel when it's getting hard, you stop, go to the other one by one, little by little, until it's hard, then you stop. If you keep doing, you damage your pump. That's enough. Now the next part is the suction valve. We have here a brand new suction valve, 410-20-533 from ROBIEL. Let's grab it. On the kit, you're gonna see a shim, metal shim. Doesn't have any position, just place inside here. Then you have your suction valve. You're gonna place the suction valve like this, the flat surface down and the pin going up. Just place it in here. And now we're gonna put our nut. And of course, we'll change the O-ring. A little bit of oil for lubrication. And we'll put our bolt here. And let's tighten it down. Screw all the way in. If you guys want to use torque meter, this place you can do because it's metal, it's not aluminum. So if you're doing the torque with the torque meter here, I recommend you doing between 5 kilograms to 6 kilograms or 50 Newton to 60 Newton. In this case, I don't have this correct fitment for the torque wrench, so I'll just torque here to show you on the video. But if you have a torque wrench, you know between 50 Newton, 60 Newton, or 5 kilograms to 6 kilograms is enough for this valve, okay? Following up to the next step, we have here our internal pressure control valve, okay? We'll use the same one. If you put in your test bench and there's no pressure on the transfer pump, it means you have a problem with this valve, okay? So let's fit the valve over here. I'm using a 12 wrench, but ROBIEL is developing the specific tool to open and close this valve. But for now, we are using the 12 wrench. Once the new tool is available, we'll make another video on using the tool. But right now we can use a 12 mil. And it's gonna help us, there you go, torque this valve. You don't need to torque this valve because it's sealed by O-rings. So just tight enough, it's good for the process. Pauzinho aqui. A ROBIEL tem M-Prop, não pedi. Essa já é uma Bonali, só se a gente meter um Cherry-Churros.
Ah, você acha que dá pra meter o louco?
Dá. Ela já é uma Bonali, tá novinha.
Só mete um tipo, lembrando que...
E tem o código, eu falo o código dela.
Você lembra ou que eu vejo?
Tá aqui, tá na peça. Okay, following up, we have the M-Prop valve. So we're gonna use a brand new M-Prop from ROBIEL. That's the part number B01070768, okay? That's the part number for ROBIEL's brand new M-Prop valve. So we'll just fit the M-Prop over here. Perfect. And we'll put the 2 screws to hold this in place. Just find my wrench over here. Okay. And let's screw this all the way in. Okay. One side, not the other one. Okay, just tie this in place. Once again, we're dealing with aluminum pump, so do not over torque, just a little bit, one side, the other. That is enough. If you over torque this, you end up breaking the aluminum on your high pressure pump, okay? So let me remove this pump from the holder by removing the screws. And we have 100% remanufactured CP4 pump. So it's a very easy pump to remanufacture. Just open everything, do the whole cleaning process. Normally, you're gonna see some problems on the head. So just use ROBIEL tool, grind, put a new valve, close back again, put a new M-Prop valve, and then run on your test bench. It's a very simple pump to be remanufacturing. As long as you have the correct tools and parts, you're gonna be very satisfied with the process of remanufacturing this pump. There's also one O-ring on the front end here, also comes in the ROBIEL kit, so you can deliver the pump to the customer 100% complete. Okay, so we're gonna give now a pause, about 15 minutes. I need to clean everything here and prepare for the next pump. That is gonna be the CP3 pump. So coil removed. Do not forget to remove the spring that goes inside the coil. We'll put it right here. And also the small shim just fall off, but there's the shim. Okay, this shim goes inside the coil. Let's put it away. Now we need to remove the little lock that makes this part to be set in place. So we just, with our fingers, we push down the armature plate, and then we can remove the little locking piece. There we go. So that's the C-clip that holds the armature plate. Let's get this over here. Now we have the armature plate. Okay, that's the armature plate. Following, we have the armature plate spring. And to continue, we need to remove the nozzle nut, the valve nut that is over here. And in order to do this, we're going to use this tool right here. So this one will go in here. That's the 324 10 10. And then we'll use also the 324 03 19. And we can remove the valve nut. That's it. So here we have our valve nut. Just remove the tool. There you go. So that's the valve nut. Okay. Moving on, we have the RLS shim. This shim is going to control what we call RLS. So this is the distance between coil and armature plate. Okay, that's the RLS shim. We'll put over here. Now carefully remove the armature plate pin. That's the armature plate pin and body. Okay, so it's two parts, body and pin. They go together like this. Okay, just remove from here. Now we have the MFP shim, or the shim that controls the lift of the armature plate itself and also the ball stroke. Okay, so it's this guy over here. And then we have the little holder, the ball holder, or the ball support. And inside here, we have the small metal ball. Let me just remove a little bit of the oil that is inside the injector so we can actually remove the small sphere. There you go. So we have here the 1.34 millimeters ball. It's a little bit hard to see because it's very, very tiny. There it is. Just fall off. We're gonna put a new one, so no troubles in that part. Okay, everything on the top removed. Let's open everything on the bottom. Let's start off with this tool. This is the 324 0715 15 millimeters tool. Let's open the injector. There we go. Once again, if you are afraid of breaking your guide pins, you can use the arm that comes with this base, but we're not using this right now, so we don't lose too much time during this training. Okay. Cap nut removed. Now remove the nozzle. Okay, that's the nozzle right here. Let's put this aside. Now we remove 2 guide pins, one over here, one over here. Now remove the support. This is the guide sleeve for the needle. This will guide the needle to be in place. And also this will hold the D&H shim, the small shim I'm gonna remove next. So that's the D&H shim. That small shim over here controls the needle lift. So if you want more lift or less lift, this is the shim you need to change. Once we do the assembly, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this shim. Now, turning inside, we have 2 more pieces. We have the spring, okay, the needle or the nozzle spring, and we also have the nozzle shim. Okay, this is gonna control idle. Every idle test is controlled by this nozzle shim. And now we have left inside the valve. So in order to remove the valve, we'll choose the correct tool to help us out. So it's not gonna be this one. It's probably gonna be this one. There we go. So the tool is the 324-1308. Screw this tool into the injector. And when we push this pin, we're gonna remove the valve without having to hit with a hammer and damage the injector. Okay, so common rail valve is removed. That's the common rail valve. And last, I need to remove the 2 O-rings that are inside. So I'm gonna use this tool. This is the 324-1301 from ROBIEL. I'm gonna insert the tool here, twist more or less 4 or 5 times, and then just pull off. And as you can see, the O-rings came out with the tool. Now I have the complete injector without any parts. The last thing I need to disassemble, if I want to, is this connector over here. This is the high pressure connector. And that is out. And there's a small shim. This fall over here. That's a small shim that seals in the body. Okay, so we keep that over here. Now we have 100% disassembled. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna grind this surface over here. So in order to do this, we need a tool. We're gonna use the 324-18.16. Once again, as you already know, cutting oil. And then screw the body into the tool. There we go. Now we just grind it. Let's open it. I'll do a little bit of cleaning with the spray. There you go. Completely grinded. Now we need to grind the internal surface down there. So let's do this right here. So first step is to grind where the O-ring, the valve O-ring sits. So we have 2 types of stone. We just need to see which one fits the injector better. Let's try this one first. It's very loose, as you can see right here. It's very loose, so that's not the correct one. Let's try this one. Perfect fit. So that's the good one. We're gonna use that one. Little bit of cutting oil, and we'll find the correct tool to place this injector. Let's see if it's this one. Yeah, that's the correct one. So it's 3246000. Let's screw all the way in and give it a couple of turns. Perfect. Good. Remove the tool. So we use this one. Now, one cleaning step. Okay, the bottom part is grinded. Now we need to grind the second part that uses the big stones. We have 3 models. Once again, let's try this one. It's very loose, so we're not gonna use this one. Let's try this one. Perfect. And this one does not fit. So this is the correct one, okay, to be used. Add some cotton oil. Put your stone. Use the same tool. Once again, screw all the way in and give some turns. Now let's unscrew this. Okay, the tool will no longer use it. Just clean a little bit. There you go. Both surface grinded on the internal side and also on the nozzle surface. So we're ready to assemble this injector. First thing I'll do is I'll put a new connection, high pressure connection. So that's the ROBIEL part number 165026061. Okay, this is a brand new common rail connector. There we go. As you remembered, we have this shim. This shim go first in here. And a good thing about the ROBIEL connector is that this connector has a microfilter similar as the Denso, so it filtrates all the dirt before it gets inside your injector. So it actually prevents failure of your injector. So we'll place this in here. Perfect. And then you just torque this down according to the specs of the manufacturer. Normally, we use here around 25 newtons of torque, okay? Moving on, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put brand new O-rings inside. So I'm bringing here ROBIEL's kit 4100026. Let me grab the parts I'm gonna use from here. So first 2 parts I'm gonna use are those 2 O-rings. Let me show you the tool that we use to insert those O-rings. So the tool is gonna be this one. Perfect. 3241318. Okay, that's the tool that fits perfectly in here. The way we use this tool is like this. We get this brown O-ring, put inside here on top, and then put this cover like this, and press until it gets in the surface, okay? Now, we have this metal O-ring, okay? One side of this O-ring is flat. The flat side goes down, okay? So the flat side here goes inside the injector, like this. Okay? Now, grab your tool with the O-ring, place here, put this in here, and just press down. Okay? So, perfect. Now, we need to get ourselves brand new camera valve. That's the B01041023 for this application. Just open our new camera valve. There we go. That's our new camera valve. Let's place the camera valve here. One good trick is, do you see this entry hole here? This hole should go against this one. So this hole would turn and go against this one, like this. Okay? Now we have this tool to push the valve down in place. We have two models, this one and this one. Just check which one fits your injector. That's the correct one, so I'll keep this in here. It's the 324-1307. Screw all the way in here. Screw this until it stops. All the way, stop. Good. Now remove the tool. Now the camera valve is in place. We can put this bolt in here. The flat surface in this case is gonna go up, and this part is gonna go down. And we need to torque this in place. Let's torque this down. We'll use between 5 to 6 kilograms or 50 to 60 Newton of torque. There we go. Perfect. Okay, it's torqued. Very well. Now, before we do the measurings in here, I like to turn and start assembling the nozzle part, okay? So, on the nozzle part, we're gonna start off by doing the measuring of the needle stroke, okay? So we need to know the needle movement on this injector. In order to do this, we'll grab here our device. Let's put a fresh pair of batteries in it. Like this. Perfect. Now we'll grab this adapter over here. Is the 324-12-031. Put this in here. Put this in 0. Okay, now we need to put this on top of here. Okay, so grab this number. So let me do this with you guys. So 1388. Now I'm gonna put minus, and now I'm gonna put the stroke that I want. So for this type of CRI injectors, I like to use 28 of stroke, so minus 280. Oops, let me just erase that, 280. So 1.11, more or less, okay? That's the size of the shim that I need to use here, more or less 1.11, okay? So let's grab our shim and measure to see the thickness of this shim. Let me just find the shim over here. It's very small. Okay, so as you can see, this shim has 109. So very, very close to the measuring I did. The small the shim, the more oil you're gonna get. The bigger the shim, the less oil you're gonna get from the injector, especially under high pressures. So all the high volume tests, you're gonna control by changing this small shim. The measure we do is just to get a very good knowledge of which shim we should use. But you don't need to be 100% accurate on the measure. If I did all the measurings and it says 1.11, I can use 1.10, 109, 1.12, very close to this number, okay? So now that I know that I can use this shim, okay, it's very close to the measurings I did, I can keep on with the assembly. So first, down there, we have the shim. This is gonna be the shim that controls idle. We have here 1.3, okay, 1.30. This shim is between 1.30 to 1.40, okay? So it's in the correct range. I can use this, so I'll put this in here. Now we put the spring. Now we put this little cage. Okay, this is the guide for the needle. Flat surface down, and this surface, there's a little cup that's gonna go up. So the flat side goes down, like this. Now I can put my little DNA shim that we already measured. It's in the correct size. We have now 2 guide pins, one over here, and there's another one over here. Perfect. Okay, now I'll add our nozzle. Okay, so for this application, I don't have a brand new nozzle right now, so I'm just gonna use the old one so you guys have understanding on how to remanufacture, but always change a nozzle for a new one, okay? So let me put this in here. Now the cap nut, ROBIEL has brand new cap nuts. Let me get you the part number. 3150664. That's a brand new cap nut. We'll place it over here. Let me just spray a little bit. There we go. Perfect. And let's give it a torque in here of 60 Newton or 6 kilograms. So just find the correct tool. And let's do the torque. Let me adjust to 6 kilograms. There we go. Perfect. Once again, if you want to make 100% sure that you don't want to break your pins, you can use the tool that I already teach you how to use on the C79 test. Just put the tool in here, press down your nozzle so it won't break anything. Let's turn this upside down and we'll start doing the measuring. So now we'll leave the ball and the ball holder out of the injector. So we'll just put this armature plate pin and the nut over here. We'll screw this in place. Okay, let's torque this to 5 kilograms. Put that on 6, let me adjust to 5. Go. Perfect, 5 kilograms. And we need to make sure that we have enough movement, okay? As you can see, we have good amount of movement over here, okay? So now we can open and put the ball and the ball holder. So I just did this to make sure we have a good movement on this pin. If it gets stuck, you need to replace your armature plate. So now let's open this again. Okay, it's opened. Now I'm gonna grab a brand new sphere. It's very tiny, so I don't think you guys can actually see. That's 1.34 millimeters. I'll drop this inside here and I'll just arrange the position. Perfect. Now you grab the ball holder, also tiny part. Okay, that's the ball holder. The flat surface goes up. This. And now we assemble back our armature plate. So first the shim, then the armature plate, and then the nut. And now we torque this again. So let's first screw all the way in and apply 5 to 6 kilograms of torque. Perfect. Once again, check the movement. Now the movement is very small because that's the ball stroke. We're gonna measure this movement over here. In order to check this movement, we need to put the spring, the armature, and the little C-clip. Call this the C-clip. Put the C-clip in here. Now, we just press down the armature plate, like this. And then we get our C-clip and place underneath the pin. And that's locked in place. Okay, now we need to check our ball stroke. How do we do this? We have one tool over here. Okay, that's the tool that we can place in here. Screw all the way in. So we're using the tool 324-1209 along with our gauge. Put the gauge in here. Okay, everything set in place. press the button, and you're gonna see the ball stroke. As you can see, the ball stroke right now, it's around 69. So 69 is high. We need to go from 52 to 58, more or less. So we need to get a smaller stroke. In order to do this, we need to change a shim that is inside the injector. Let me show you which one. So just open again your C-clip. Now we just grab our tool to remove the pin. There we go. Pin this. Remove this one. Okay. That's the shim that is gonna adjust the ball stroke. The bigger the shim, the more stroke you have. The smaller the shim, the small stroke you have. So let me show you. I'm gonna grab a little bit smaller shim that I have here. A little bit small. Let's put and do the measuring again. So first is the shim. Then we have our armature here. Let's assemble this again. And let's torque once again between 50 to 60 newtons. There we go. Keep on the assembly, spring, armature, C-clip. Perfect. Now put your measuring device again. And let's do the measuring. So before we had around 70, now we have 64. As you can see, if I grab a small shim, the number will go down. So that's how you adjust the ball stroke on your BOSCH injectors. Next step is the RLS shim, okay, the shim over here, okay? So to determine the thickness of the shim, I already showed you on the Denso injectors how you do it. It's gonna be the same thing for the BOSCH injectors. So you just, let me show you which tools we're gonna use for this. So grab this tool, 324-1208. Put 0. Okay, the tool is at 0. Now we'll do a measuring. First thing we're gonna measure is the coil, like this. 5526. Let me write it down with you guys. 5526. Okay, you can see 5526 minus, let me do the second measuring. Now I'm gonna measure the injector body, 6431. So 6431. Okay. As you can see here, 6431 minus 5526, we have 905. Now we need to do plus 100, plus 100. That's 1005. That's the measure of the shim I need to put inside this injector. So let's see how much is this shim. Let me remove this tool. So this shim needs to be about 1 millimeter, okay? So let me just measure and lock in place so you guys can see. Okay, so as you can see, more or less 1 millimeter, okay? So that's the exact measure we need for this injector. So we can use the shim over here. And now to finish it, we need to measure this shim. This is the one that's gonna go inside your coil. So it's around 1.6. Between 1.5, 1.6 is good. We'll put this inside our coil. Okay, inside here, then spring, and then we assemble this into the injector. Let's screw this all the way in, and we'll apply a torque of 3 kilograms or 30 Newton meters. So let's lower this to 3 kilograms. Perfect. And now we have 100% repaired Commercial BOSCH injector. If you move to Crane injectors, it only changes some small amount of movement on the ball stroke and on the needle, but the concept is going to be the same thing with the ROBIEL Tool Kit that we are using. Is the 323-50-102. With that toolkit, you can do all the BOSCH Crane injectors. I'm gonna ask you for another small pause, 10-15 minutes, so I can clean up the table again, and we come back with the XPI injectors. Okay, everyone, we're back. Now we're here with the ISX15 XPI injector. So once again, we'll do the complete disassembly, do some grinding on the injector, and then do the full assembly with the measures you need to do to correct the volume of this injector. First thing we're gonna disassemble is the bolt on top here. Sometimes, if the injector is never been used or touched, there's a glue in here that you just removed with something sharp, and then you have access to this screw. So let's remove it. It's a 4mm Allen screw. Just remove it. Okay, so we have here the screw and also spring. And there's a small pin, but the pin is inside the injector. We can take it out later. Now with the 324-0405 tool, we can unscrew the solenoid. Okay, solenoid cap. Now careful removing the solenoid because sometimes there's tiny parts, as you can see, hanging out here. So we have here, let's remove part by part. First is the armature. Okay, armature plate. We have the armature pin. Okay, like this. Inside here we have this compressor pin. This pin goes against the spring to do the pressure. Of course, we have our solenoid over here. Then we have our ball holder. Okay, so this is our ball holder. One side is flat. As you can see, this side is flat, and this side you have the round to be the base of the ball. Okay, now we have the spring, the armature spring. We have here also the shims. There's two shims. This is just a support shim, so we don't change the shim. We don't adjust anything with the shim. And this is the stainless steel shim that we adjust the ball stroke. This is gonna adjust all the flow of this injector. Small flow like idle, and also high flow like your high pressure tests, okay? Now, there's the tiny sphere inside the injector. There you go. It's very, very tiny. That's 1.18 millimeters ceramic ball. It comes brand new in the ROBIEL kit, as I'm gonna show you. Let's put in here. Let's keep on disassembly. Okay, now the second step is removing this nut over here. So there's two tools in the ROBIEL. One is for photon injectors. So you can also do the same process I'm doing here for photon or ISL or XPI. The three injectors, you have the same way of repair. So if it is not this one, then it's gonna be this one. So it's the 324-0403 for the XPI. Okay, this is just a nut and screw. Okay, removed. Nothing to do here. Now we have our control valve. Okay, that's the valve responsible for any leakage of the injector. So normally, if you have high leakage, high back leak, too much return on this injector, probably the cause is going to be this valve. So we always recommend put a brand new valve every time you repair the XPI injector. That's the valve right there. Let's keep disassembling. Now we have the needle guide sleeve. This is guiding the needle up and down. It's just a guide. Let's put it over here. Under the valve, we have this shim. This is the shim that adjusts the needle lift. Okay, this is the shim. Once we do the assembly, we're going to measure the lift, and if we need, we can change the shim to change the needle lift. Keeping on the disassembly, we have here the big needle with the spring. Okay, that's the spring, and that's the needle. There's lots of different types of needle. Normally, you see one that is flat in one side. That's the big volume type of needle for big volume injectors. And there's one that is completely round. There's no flat surface. That's for the small volume type of injector. We always recommend check the injector part number and buy the correct nozzle for the injector application. Now we just turn and remove the nozzle nut over here. Just put it like this. And there we go. That tends to be a little bit harder than normal because that's 120 Newton meters of torque. Let's remove it, and we have here the body. So like the others, we'll start off by doing the grinding of the injector. So grab your tool, grab some oil, cutting oil. We are using here the 324-18018. Screw this. All the tools that I use on these trainings, they are part of a bigger kit. So if you want all the tools I use, you can just buy the kit and you have access to all the tools. Okay? Clean. Perfect. Now we do the internal part. Same process. Some cutting oil. Oop, that's the wrong tool. That's for photon. So that's the correct one for XPI. That's the 324-18-014. Let's screw the tool. There we go. Couple of passes. Screw the tool. Little bit of cleaning. And perfect, perfect. Okay, let's start the assembly. We will first start with the nozzle. Okay, place the nozzle over here. Grab your nozzle nut, screw in your injector, and we'll give 100, between 100 to 120 Newton meters of torque is a good amount. So it's a good amount of torque. There we go. Turn. And now let's start the assembly. First, needle. And on the needle, we'll do like this. Spring. And then guide sleeve. Okay, this we'll put inside the injector. So next piece is gonna be this one. This is has two holes, one on the side here and one in the center. Okay, so that's where the oil goes in to the valve. So just remember, the flat surface goes up, the round surface goes down. So round surface down into the injector. Okay, now the next step is getting our shim. Okay, this is the shim that controls the valve lift. Let's put it in here. And now we'll do the measure of the needle lift. Let's put this piece here. Okay. Just by hand, torque just a little bit. Now grab your measuring device. And now press down. You can see 0.55. Okay. The best results you have is between 0.54 and 0.58. Here we have 0.55. Okay, so in this case we are between the range. That's perfect for the injection. If you are out of range, if for some reason you measure and you have, let's say, 0.700 or 0.200, you are gonna need to change this shim over here. Let me just show you which one we are talking about. Just put these parts back in here. Okay, so that's the shim I'm talking about. The bigger the shim, the thicker the shim, the more injection you're gonna have, because the needle lift is gonna be bigger. The smaller or the thinner the shim, the valve lift is smaller, then you have less oil. So this is perfect measure. So let me just put this perfectly in place. Oops. There we go. Now, the next step is getting the control valve in the injector. Of course, I'll use a brand new control valve from ROBIEL under the Bonali brand. Let's get here our control valve. Be careful with the tiny parts, so I'm gonna open in the table so I don't lose any parts. There you go. Control valve, the ball holder, and the little ball is in the table so I don't lose it. So first, put the control valve. After the control valve, you can put the valve nut. Let me just change this O-ring. And we'll put a brand new O-ring from ROBIEL, 410-32-211. Grab your O-ring, put in here a little bit of lubrication oil. Screw this in place. And let's give it some torque. I'm gonna use here 100 Newton meters of torque. Perfect, 100. Now, get this part separated and let's start assembling the coil. First of all, get the coil nut put in here. Okay. Now, get your coil, change the O-ring. Once again, I'll grab a new O-ring from our kit. Let's put the O-ring in the coil. Little bit of oil, as always, for lubrication. Okay, put the coil in here, like this. Let's start the assembly. First, get these two together, like this, and put this in here. Fair enough. Now, get your shim, place the shim here. The next measure we're gonna do is the measure of this shim. We're gonna measure the ball stroke with the device. If the ball stroke is too big, then you need a smaller shim. If the ball stroke is too small, you need a bigger shim. So that's the shim that adjusts the ball stroke. We're gonna put it here. Now put this other shim. Now the little ball holder goes on here. And the small ball, let me grab a new one here. It's gonna go on top of the ball holder. There we go. Perfect. Now get your spring, put the spring in here. And now get the complete injector, put it in here and click it. Now it's fully assembled. Now get your coil nut and let's do the final measuring. So screw this tool in here, but first add your wrench. Now put your tool. Put your measuring device. So what we need to do is we need to measure this. It's 214, and we keep torquing and checking the numbers. So let's torque a little bit. Let me change this so you can see. Now it's 141. We need to go down to 55. Okay, so let's keep pushing. Let's see how much we have now. 84. A little bit more. 70. A little bit more. Okay, 54. That's perfect. Very close to 55. That's our goal. Okay, so we are at 54 of ball stroke. That's perfect for this injector. Now, to finish off the injector, we need to grab the spring, the little pin, like this. Put your injector upside down, turn back in, and grab your little screw. Now what we are gonna do is screw this all the way to the bottom, all the way down. And let's go back 2 turns, okay? So 2 turns. Let me show you. As you can see, this is pointing towards you. So this is 1, 2 turns, okay? What I did now is a basic calibration. Once you're in your test bench, choose the pre-injection test, the pilot or the pre-injection. If your pilot injection is too high, too much oil, you can turn a little bit, you can tighten a little bit the screw. This will make the pilot or the pre-injection to go low. If you want more pre-injection or more pilot injection, turn this anti-clockwise and you're gonna have more oil, okay? So that's the complete repair. It's a very simple injector. Just take in mind having a good valve for this injector, cleaning, doing the grinding, and measuring the needle lift between 52 to 58 and the ball stroke between 54 to 56. You're gonna have a perfect injector repaired, okay? Guys, thank you for watching the video. This was the training course of the XPI injector, and I'll see you soon on the next opportunity.